Hello friends, my name is Kate. Welcome back to another update for my Pan That Palette / Pan Those Eyeshadows. It's the start of April here. This was a little bit longer of a month of me working on things than usual. I think, today's the 4th, and I usually try to be really diligent about filming these on the 1st. So we have a lot of usage this month. This is a very exciting update, so let's get into it. As always, we start off with what is left of my Pan That palette from 2022. This is the Too Faced Natural Eyes in the very old tin packaging. Here's what we were looking like last month. I only had 2 shades left. You see up top there is Sexpresso, which to date, at this point in time, I had used 185 times, I believe, if that's correct. And then Erotica down there, I had used 94 times. I don't think those numbers are right. It's okay. And here's what we are looking like this month. So if you see right there, Sexpresso has a tiny little bit left in those corners. I'll post some better little pictures up here to show you just how much is left in there. I used this 33 times this month. I used it every single day that I did my makeup and my brows. Most days I also was using it as a light contour, and I would get a very detailed little liner brush wet and then really get it in there, get it coated to do a little bit more of a bold liner with it. So most of the time when I was using it, it was in a variety of different ways. I used it a lot of times twice a day, which is why there's so many uses there. I might be done for the day, chilling at home in the evening, and just decide I'm gonna do like just a little bit of eyeliner just to give it another use. Do my brows again when I'm going nowhere, just because I really want to finish this shade, which I'm absolutely going to within the next month. Next, we have Erotica, which I used 1 time this month. And I had said in my last update that my plan was to finish Sexpresso, depot Erotica, and keep working on it. But in that 1 use this month, I tried to set my lid with it and just use it as a base for other shadows, just to get, you know, a good targeted use on there and really be able to pack a lot of it on. And my frustration with this shadow is my frustration with all of the mattes that were in this palette, except this one is dark. It doesn't blend. It doesn't perform the same way any of my other eyeshadows perform, even though this was probably the most expensive palette, definitely was, that I own. Just so frustrating. Like, I couldn't get anything to look nice on top of it. I couldn't get it to blend with anything else. And so I have decided that when Sexpresso is gone, this palette is finished. So as much as I want to say I used up every shade in here to the fullest, I think that's definitely going to be the best decision. I will scrape this out. Next update, I am going to show you a beautiful empty palette here, and then this will go away. So that is that. I'm gonna guess it takes me between 10 and 15 more uses to finish Sexpresso. It's because I know how stubborn these mattes are, but it will certainly be gone by next month's update. So now let's get into the Pan Those Eyeshadows. Here was the color palette I was working with over the past month. Forgive me for the scratch there. My cats are awful. Let's see if we can get some sun. So up here, if you can see that little bit of shimmer, that is the shade Bully from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Carly Bible palette. The second shade is the e.l.f. Mad for Matte Nude Mood palette. This is the, 7th shade in, I believe. This one here is Transcendence from ColourPop Inner Trance. OA from the ABH Carly Bible, and down here is Soul Sister from the ColourPop Aura and Out. So here is what Bully was looking like last month. This was my 3rd month, I believe, with this shadow, and I had 15 uses on it. I used it an additional 4 uses this month to hit pan, and then I used it another 3 times after that. And that's what we're looking like. I was really happy to hit pan on this because I thought this shadow was going to be so easy to use, like a super simple inner corner highlight. No, I'm glad you guys sympathized with me in my last video as well, that this shadow was really difficult to work with. It had like this nice, pretty champagne-y base, and then there's these huge silver glitter chunks on it that just end up all over your face. It was very annoying. I'm really happy to have pan in that. I don't really look forward to the day that I try to finish this shadow, but I do have a lot of progress on it. You can see that it's quite low all the way around the pan, and that is because I did use it as a nail polish topper in one of those uses, so looking pretty good there. Moving on, next I have some decisions I have come to that you will have seen if you saw my project pan video, but my e.l.f. Mad for Matte palette, I'm not going to tip it up all the way because I have some loose little chunks in this shadow. I have decided I am not considering this eyeshadow in my collection at this point. I'm using this as a face palette, and so this is the shade that I was working on, and I used it in the first month 14 times. I used it 3 more times this month and decided I don't have any interest in working on this shade. I didn't really make hardly any progress on it at all. Also, I apologize as always for the lighting. But yeah, I don't have any interest in working on this shade, and I am gonna go ahead and roll it out, even though I didn't meet any of my goals on that. Next up is the ColourPop in a Trance shade here. Now, this palette went through some stuff this month. I dropped it right after I filmed my last update, and I had to repress a bunch of shades in here. I lost a ton of product. The 2 shades that I was working on in the project remain unscathed, but it's gonna look a little bit different, and also it's pretty messy. I'm gonna show you this shade and you're gonna see some green in it, and that's just because there's a lot of transfer in here. So this blue up in the corner, and I'm hiding the other one from you, is Transcendence. I'll put up a better picture here so you can see there's a good dip in this. I have not yet hit pan. I used it in the first month 13 times, and then I used it this month an additional 15 times. So next month will be my 3rd month. I will certainly hit those 30 uses, but I do think I'm gonna just keep working on this until I hit pan. If you'll see back there, the reflection of the sun on this, my cats are losing it, so. That is that for Transcendence. I've used this a lot on my lower lash line this month, which I really enjoy wearing it that way. This has not been too bold of a color for me. I've really liked it, so I'm happy to keep working on that. Next up is the shade OA, again from my Carly Bible palette, and I'm happy, so happy to report that there is a pan right here in this shade. I do not enjoy this shadow either. It is a very chunky glitter. It produces a lot of fallout. I think it's much prettier in the pan than it is on the eyes, but I came into this month with 7 uses on it from last month, and I used it an additional 5 times to hit pan, and then 1 more time to expand that pan. So very, very happy to no longer be working on that as well. And lastly, we have the shade Soul Sister, again from this ColourPop palette. I'll show you the whole thing now too. Just what a mess this is. But this was our shade, and you can see there, it is a tiny, tiny, okay. And as you can see, there is a tiny, tiny baby pan in there, but it is pan nonetheless. Actually, this was the first month that this was in the project. So I used this 15 times this month, and it took me those, well, actually it was like 14 uses to hit pan, and then this was a little loose in the pan, and I had still been using it, and it made me kind of nervous, so I did push it down in there, and this is a Super Shock formula, so they're very squishy. And then in my 15th use, I just kind of went back in there and made it so the pan was more noticeable again. I did primarily use this as a lower lash line or in the outer corner, though I did some very cool looks with this all over the lid for March too. And those will be coming at the end of the video, so it's tiny. And you can see in all of these, there's little flecks of this green, this shade Vibes, which I did hit pan on earlier in this project. And then it exploded. It was not worth it to me to try to repress it that much. I have a little bit left if I want to use it, and it continues to crumble, and it's a major pain, but it is what it is. I also lost my pan on clarity because I did have to repress this, which was very sad. But you can see here I hit pan on, the shade's Just a Splash from the ColourPop High Tide palette, which was in this project earlier in last year, and I actually did end up rolling it out. So I'm very happy to have a pan on that. So that's what that is looking like. And this month I get to roll out 4 shades. So we are going to need to go ahead and roll for those. However, I have some news for you. I had said in my last video that I wanted to hit 75% pan percentage before I bought any new palettes. This past month I hit 4 pans, and if we don't take away the pans that I had to repress and lost in there, I would have 22 pans out of 32 eyeshadows, which makes for a total of 68.75% pan percentage. But I bought some new palettes anyway. And I also am going to be getting rid of 9 of those completed pans, or ones that are counting towards my pan percentage in the next month. So I'm not recalculating a pan percentage until my next update, but it's going to change a lot. So I did purchase the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette, which I'm wearing on my eyes today and loving. I really wanted to go for an eye look that matched this headband, so I did, and I love it. And I also purchased the Profusion Nudes palette. So that is going to add an additional 24 pans to my collection. But I'm also going to be not considering anything in here. And I think how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna roll between the Carly Bible, the Subculture, the ColourPop Mix palette, and the Profusion palette. And I'm gonna pick a shade from each of those. That's how I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna go grab those and I will be right back. Okay, so the first palette we're going to be picking from is the Carly Bible. I have 6 shades in here without pans, so we're randomizing 1 through 6. And my laptop over here. So generate, that gives us 3. 1, 2, 3. I was kind of hoping I would get this shade. I've been using this quite a bit anyway. It's like a pastel-y orange. This is Cindy. I feel like this is a fun spring shade, so I'm very excited about that. That was a really messy swatch, but that's what that looks like. Kind of a nice transition shade. I also really like using it as a liner, so that should be fun. Next we'll pick from Subculture, which I have used quite a bit over the last month. Not that there are any dips or anything in there, but we're gonna pick between 1 and 12. I got 9. I am getting so lucky here, right? Yeah, I'm right. This is the shade Electric. I know this is everybody's favorite shade in this palette. I am wearing it all over my lids today. I swear, I promise I'm really generating them here. This does have a lot of hard pan on top, but this is so pretty. Oh my gosh. This is like, these are spring shades right here. That's what that looks like in the swatch. And I'm gonna show you, like, legit. That's the number that I got, because I feel like if I could hand select shades, that's what it would have been. Beautiful. Okay, next up we will go from the Profusion Nudes. I also have been using this quite a bit this month, and this packaging is so hard to open. Is that just me? I love this. This was only $5. This formula is incredible. You can see I have some kind of some dips already starting to form in this. So we're gonna randomize 1 through 10. Do it. Okay, and I got shade number 8, which is Tart. Right here, it's a little bit more of an orangey kind of transition shade again, which I have been using this pretty regularly this month. Well, that's definitely more of a like orange than Cindy, which is kind of nice. I still really like this, and whatever shade I pick from Or and Out most likely is going to vibe with this really well. So Or and Out, I'm going to make I really don't want to work on clarity again, even though I lost my pan there, and I'm not going to roll in vibes. So I guess I have 3 options here. Transcendence. No. What is this called? Future Self, I think is the name of this. That's from the Inner Trance. I have New Age, which is truly from the Aura and Out, and this is the shade Lunar from the High Tide palette. So we'll go 1 through 3 and see what we get. Okay, I got 2, which is this shade right here. Now this does technically have pan showing if you look up in this corner, because I had to repress this one as well. I'm just gonna go into the middle and hope it doesn't crumble horribly on me, and I'll try to hit my own pan. Oh my goodness, this color story is adorable. I love this. Okay, that's what our color story looks like this month. So I feel like I could not, get in the light a little bit more, could not have gotten one that was more perfect for spring. Okay, I had to pause right there because my cat's automatic feeder went off and it was just chaos. So I'm so excited to work on this. I think this is so cute, so like Easter, spring, like I love it. So I also wanted to tell you, I think the one that really is the only one that shows major use in this is Cindy. And you can tell it's got some scrapes on there. And I am coming into this with 20 uses already on this shade, saying that because I have tracked all of my uses on this palette since I got it. So just to give you a good representation of where we're starting. Everything else that's in here has been relatively unused, or I've swatched it or played with it like a little bit. I also just want to state from here on out, I do want to try to hit pan in every shade in this palette by the end of the year, which I think is going to be super, super doable. And probably make this my pan that palette next year, and just kind of work to making that easier right now. But at this point, I am super excited by this update. I cannot wait to get working on these. And I think that's all I have in this portion of the video. I'm gonna go ahead and show you some looks that I did with all these shades over the last month. So we will jump over there, and for now I will say bye, and I will see you in the next one. So for this first look, we have OA on that outer half. The pink shade on the inner half is Aura. From the Carly Bible palette, I believe I had Bible in the crease, and this was just a very fun blue and pink. This was my St. Patrick's Day look. It's my Angels from the Carly Bible on the outer half, and Soul Sister, that ColourPop green, packed on the inner half and mirrored on the lower lash line. I also have Sexpresso. Here is a little bit bolder of a liner. I really, really liked this look. And then in the next one, it's going to be very similar, but with more brown vibes. This had, I believe, some colors from Subculture in it. I don't think I can exactly tell you, but the main star of the show is that ColourPop Focus shade packed on the inner corner, which I really had fun playing with this month. The next one is a very bold look for me, but this was really fun. I have Transcendence packed on the outer half and Soul Sister on the inner half, mirrored on the lower lash line with some other ColourPop shades to really get that nice shift from green to blue, with, of course, Sexpresso on the lash line. That one was very fun. Next up is a purple and green look. The purples primarily came from ABH Subculture, and that Soul Sister is a green moment on the lower lash line. I also had like a plummy ColourPop gel liner with this. This one was very fun. And then the last look I really loved. This was like primary colors. I have Cindy from ABH, primarily all over the lid with a little bit of my Angels on the outer corner, and then Transcendence for a pop of blue on the lower lash line, which paired so nice with a red lip. Loved this one.